On this holy morning, I will be reading from the book of Matthew, chapter 2, verses 7 through 12. Then Herod secretly called for the Magi and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen in the east, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then, opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road. May God bless the word. May God bless you. Thank you.
Anthony, thank you so much. This was his first time reading, and I'm really, really glad you did so. Thank you so much, Anthony. Joy to the world. We sang so on Christmas Eve, very loud and joyously. We sang today, not as loud because there are fewer people in here, which is totally fine, but this joy is still there. So how do you feel today? Couple of days after Christmas. Do you still feel as joyous as on the 25th in the morning? Or do you feel like 2 more days to pay off that big credit card? Or the pounds on the scale? I think the scale is lying a little bit, you know? I mean, what about that joy? Where is that joy? Is it the holiday blues? I don't know how you feel on this first Sunday after Christmas. Where is the joy in you? For many people, it's life back to normal. I needed to go to the store yesterday and I saw Valentines all over. I'm thinking like, just to put on the brakes a little bit here. We are not there yet. We are still in the season of joy, and in the church year, we are actually celebrating Christmas for 12 days, starting on Christmas Day. So today is the 5th day of Christmas. Isn't that with the 5 golden rings on the 5th day? So that would be today. We continue that joy because it is contagious. And you can't keep the joy inside you. And I hope that this is what you feel, despite the gray, the rain, and everything else what is outside. On Christmas Eve, we heard the story according to Luke. Today, Anthony read a story, part of the Matthew's Gospel. And I love it how we combine them, as if they were one, but they're actually 2 different stories. And today, we heard about the Magi. We here, I'm glad they already arrived, are right here on the side. Beautiful. We think that there are 3 because they brought 3 gifts. So we assume each of them brought 1 gift, but we don't really know. Don't really know. What else don't we know about them? A lot of things we don't know about them. First of all, legend says that they have names. We don't really know. In some legends, they're called Caspar, Balthasar, and Melchior, and in some traditions, you will see that people, especially in the Roman Catholic tradition, go from house to house to house and put down a C and an M and a B, Caspar, Melchior, and Balthasar, also meaning in Latin, God bless this house for the new year. If that is one of the traditions, anybody knows? Nobody? Okay. Maybe you can introduce it. because that would definitely be one as well. But we do know that even they are called magi, they are not magicians. They don't have magic tricks and then suddenly have this bunny coming out of their sleeve. That is not what the magi were. The magi were actually really smart people coming from the east. And some traditions say they're coming from 3 different continents, which means Asia, Europe, and Africa at that time. That was the world known. So they were really smart, intelligent people who knew history, well-read. They were connecting the dots of what are the signs in the sky, and they were also looking into the future, interpreting history of what it could mean. And they saw the star, knowing that the star is much more powerful than King Herod. Yes, King Herod was in power, and he was a very cruel and violent king. And if you read on to that story, there's a lot of violence going on. And I know we have children here, so we just took the verses which are the good verses. But I encourage you, read on. Because after the Magi brought the gifts, there's a lot of bloodshed. And I'm sorry to say so. And a lot of violence and a lot of stuff I don't want to hear about the cute little baby Jesus, because it doesn't fit into my brain. And then we also read that Jesus and his parents were refugees, trying to go into the country for safety, for their own safety. And again, this is one of the stories we don't want to talk about, because that disturbs our own peace and joy. And here, these wise guys, or the wise people who know so much, follow that star, and just to be with extreme joy. I do not know these wise guys personally, but I just assume that they're more studious and read a lot and thinking, and they might not be party animals. I much rather see them in books, studying, and being more sincere. But when they see that star in verse 10, and you can read it for yourself, they were in exceeding joy, as maybe kiss on Christmas morning. That doesn't really make sense. Because they knew who Herod is. They knew how mean and cruel he can be. They knew what was coming, and still they are filled with extreme joy. So we have both. The extreme joy over a star which leads them to a baby, or at that point, Jesus might be, I don't know, a toddler, toddling around. And we have the extreme violence, which comes later. How can both be at the same time, just a few verses down? And I just think that's life. On Christmas morning, I hope that you have the exceeding joy, as many, many kids have, when they see what happened magically on Christmas morning. And then, if you switch on the news, on your phone, on the radio, on the TV, nothing, just what happened a couple of hours, maybe at home, with all the excitement and the joy. How do we combine both at the same time? It's like doing a magic split in our heads, in our hearts, in our hands, in our own being. So how do we do that? And there's a quote I want to share with you by Friedrich Büchner, who is a theologian, author, Presbyterian minister. God says to each of us, here's the world. Beautiful and terrible things will happen. Do not be afraid. I am with you. Nothing can ever separate you. I love that quote so much because it says that both beautiful and terrible things happen at the same time. And that's life. We only wish for the beautiful things, but that's not going to happen. But do not be afraid. That's exactly what the message was for the Magi, and it's exactly what the message was for Joseph and for Mary and for the shepherds. I am with you. Emmanuel, who we sang about. Nothing can ever separate us. Nothing can ever separate us. And that, for me, I hope if there's anything you can take with you, I hope that it will be. Because God does not shy away from the terrible things happening. God does not shy away from the news. God does not shy away from what's going to happen in the world, even on Christmas Day. I don't need to repeat you all what happened 3 or 4 days ago, or what is continues to happen in other parts of the world, and even in our own community. People are sad because they're lonely, or because they're remembering a loved one, or whatever else might be. But still, we are joyous. And the joy of the Magi, that star, goes much deeper than the fear. All that happened many, many, many years ago. 80 years ago this month, in 1944, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who was the theologian, pastor, German pastor, who was against Hitler, because he was against Christian nationalism, he was imprisoned. Because he was against the system, because he was a threat, just like the baby was a threat to King Herod. He was imprisoned and also tortured. He wrote letters to his fiancée and to his parents. The last letter we know of is the closing hymn which we're going to sing today. It's a poem about what gives him joy despite the cold prison he is in. What gives him peace, what gives him love, what gives him hope, knowing exactly what will happen to him. He wrote these poems, these words, and I know that Mark already played the melody when we came in as a prelude. And I'm really grateful that both Cappy and Mark will sing them for us. That deep joy which transcends all our rational ideas of what it's about. And Bonhoeffer actually wrote, "The joy of God has the power of the manger, the distress of the cross, and therefore it is invincible and irrefutable." The joy of God is what carries us over. So I invite you, when you sing, think about, or when you just listen, whatever you want to do, think about Dietrich Bonhoeffer in his cell, writing his Christmas greetings to his fiancée and to his parents, just a couple of months before he was executed, which was a few weeks before the end of World War II. Is this joyous? Yes, it is, even though it's sad at the same time. But his joy was so deep, knowing that his faith is stronger than what anybody could do to him. And I hope that you have the same joy in you. It is not the glittery joy or the happiness you might find in a wonderful after Christmas sales. But I hope that joy goes deep, wide deep, and touches you in your heart where nothing else can touch you. And so let me read to you by gracious powers, the one which we're going to sing in a couple of minutes. Surrounded by such true and gentle powers, so wondrously consoled and without fear, thus will I spend with you these final hours, and then together enter a new year. By gentle powers lovingly surrounded, with patience will endure, let come what may, God is with us at night and in the morning, and certainly on every future day. Let the joy of Christmas be with you and be the message leading you from this year to next. And we have plenty of more stars left. We will bring them with you. Please share the joy, share the joy. And we will have those stars available for you in coffee hour that you may share that joy with others as well. Amen.